Shedeur Sanders has sold the most amount of jerseys out of any rookie this year.
If the Cleveland Browns cut Shedeur Sanders, it would have been the dumbest business decision that they ever would have made. You can't cut Shedeur Sanders when he has more jersey sales than your starting quarterback or starting star player.
Yeah. The number 2 jersey is going to be one of the 2 or 3 highest selling jerseys, if not number 1, highest selling jersey in the NFL.
Was he the
Oh my God! It is! I'm repping you, baby, all the way. I don't care what they do to you. Trying to stop your grind. Perfect time.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
Your shoes don't match. How about that?
Shedeur Sanders is going to be one of the richest quarterbacks ever. Prime equity. I want you guys to understand that word, prime equity.
So I just give to a couple of the main receivers going into this game. You know, I give to them some cleats. Some warm, some didn't, but I was like, okay, this is just my little appreciation gift to them. Because they don't be having a lot in stock. So
something crazy is happening around Shedeur Sanders right now. And no, it's not just on the field. Because before he's even locked in as the full-time starter for the Cleveland Browns, his jersey is already moving like he's a franchise superstar. We're talking about sales numbers that don't match his current role, hype that doesn't match his experience, and attention that's starting to make brands like Nike pay very close attention. And when that happens in the NFL, it's never just about merch. It's about power, influence, and what's coming next. Let's set the tone immediately because this is where it gets wild. Shedeur Sanders switching back to his iconic number 2 isn't just a number change, it's a statement. That number carries identity. It connects back to everything he built before entering the league, the confidence, the spotlight, the aura that followed him from college into the pros. And the moment that number became official again in Cleveland, fans didn't hesitate. They reacted instantly. Jerseys started flying, demand spiked, and suddenly a player who hasn't even fully taken over the starting job is being treated like he already has.
If the Cleveland Browns cut Shedeur Sanders, it would have been the dumbest business decision that they ever would have made. You can't cut Shedeur Sanders when he has more jersey sales than your starting quarterback or starting star player.
Yeah.
You would think Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett. He's going to get the sack record. And Shedeur Sanders is still selling more jerseys than him. If I'm a owner of the Cleveland Browns, the thing that comes first before team success in most cases is what's good for business. We're having home games and we're seeing more 12 jerseys than 95 jerseys.
Here's the part nobody's talking about. This didn't start now. This was building long before the number change. Even when Shedeur wasn't guaranteed anything, even when he was sitting behind veterans, his jersey was still among the top selling in the league. Think about how rare that is. Most players don't even get recognition unless they're starters, let alone sell at that level. But Shedeur, he's operating on a completely different level of visibility. This isn't just football hype, this is cultural momentum. This is where it gets dangerous, because now expectations are being created before production. Fans are not buying this jersey because of NFL stats, they're buying into a belief. The legacy of Deshaun Sanders, the confidence Shedeur carries, the idea that he's next in line to take over. And when belief becomes this strong, it stops being optional for the organization to respond. It becomes pressure.
The number 2 jersey is going to be one of the 2 or 3 highest selling jerseys, if not number 1, highest selling jersey in the NFL.
Was he the highest selling jersey last year?
He's the highest selling rookie. I'm not sure if he was number 1 overall.
Think about what this means inside the building. You've got a quarterback room where Deshaun Watson is still trying to prove he's the guy, still trying to reclaim his status, still trying to silence the doubts. And then right behind him, you've got a younger player whose jersey is outselling almost everyone in the league. That's not a normal dynamic. That's tension waiting to happen. Here's the part nobody's talking about. Brands like Nike don't panic over one player having a hot streak. They react when a player starts shifting behavior in the market, and that's exactly what Shedeur is doing. He's showing that star power doesn't always have to follow performance. Sometimes it leads it. And that changes everything about how brands think, how they market, and who they invest in long term.
I didn't even know he was still in the squad.
What's a DeAndre Carter?
I don't know,
They
man.
signed him as the kick returner possibility guy, and then I don't think he ever actually played. But once Shedeur started selling 12 jerseys, I don't think you could then change your jersey mid-season.
But yeah,
I mean, but you can't compare. Earl brought up some of the other guys, but like, people are not buying those jerseys like they're buying Shedeur Sanders jerseys.
Because let's be real, this isn't just about Cleveland. This is about the NFL as a whole. The league has always been driven by quarterbacks, but now it's also driven by personalities, and Shedeur fits that perfectly. He understands attention. He understands branding. He understands how to keep people watching even when he's not on the field. That's a skill, and it's one that translates directly into sales. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They start believing the hype too early. They see the jersey sales, the social media buzz, the attention, and they try to match it immediately on the field. They press, they force throws, they try to be the hero every play. And that's when things fall apart. Because the NFL doesn't reward hype, it punishes mistakes. But here's what makes Shedeur different. He's grown up in this environment. Being the son of Deshaun Sanders means you've been in the spotlight your entire life. Cameras, expectations, criticism, praise, none of it is new. So instead of being overwhelmed by the moment, he's navigating it. He's letting the hype exist without letting it control him. And that's a dangerous combination for everyone else in the league. Now bring it back to the Browns, because this is where things start to shift in a real way. When you have a player dominating off the field like this, it starts influencing decisions on the field, whether people want to admit it or not. Because the NFL is not just about wins and losses. It's also about business. It's about engagement. It's about fan investment. And right now, fans are investing heavily in Shedeur Sanders. This is where it gets dangerous, because momentum like this doesn't stay contained. It spreads. If Shedeur keeps trending, if his jersey continues to dominate sales, if fans keep pushing his name louder and louder, it creates a situation where the coaching staff and front office have to respond. Not publicly, not directly, but internally, because they can feel it. They can see where the energy is going. And if Watson struggles, even slightly, that's when everything changes. Because now it's not just about performance, it's about perception. And perception in the NFL can flip faster than anything else. One bad game, one rough stretch, and suddenly the conversation isn't stick with the veteran. It becomes, why aren't we playing the guy everyone believes in? Here's the part nobody's talking about. Once fans pick their quarterback, it becomes incredibly difficult to go against that. We've seen it across the league. Once the crowd starts chanting for someone, once the narrative builds, it creates pressure that seeps into every part of the organization. Coaches feel it, players feel it, even ownership feels it, and eventually it forces a decision. This is where it gets dangerous, because that decision might come sooner than expected, not because the team planned it that way, but because momentum forced it. And when decisions are made under pressure instead of timing, that's when things can either explode in a good way or fall apart completely. Now, let's zoom out, because this situation is bigger than just Cleveland. What we're seeing with Shedeur Sanders is a shift in how stars are created in the NFL. It used to be simple. You perform first, then you get the recognition. Now, though, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the recognition comes first, and the performance catches up later. And if it does catch up, that's when you get something special. Because think about it. If Shedeur starts winning games, if he starts putting up numbers, if he actually becomes the guy in Cleveland while already being one of the highest-selling jerseys in the league, you're not just looking at a quarterback, you're looking at a phenomenon. This is where young players usually make a mistake, but it's also where organizations make mistakes too. If the Browns ignore what's happening, if they pretend this is just hype and not something real, they could miss the moment entirely. But if they overreact, if they rush him into a situation he's not ready for, they could damage his development. So now they're stuck in the middle. Balance the future, manage the present, control the narrative, and somehow keep everything from spiraling out of control. And that brings us back to Nike. Are they panicking? Not in the dramatic way people are saying, but are they watching closely? Absolutely. Because when a player starts outperforming expectations in the market, it changes everything about how brands approach them. Endorsements, campaigns, product pushes, all of it shifts. Because at the end of the day, Nike doesn't just sell jerseys, they sell stars. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is becoming one, whether the league is ready for it or not. So now, the real question. What happens next? What happens if the hype keeps growing? What happens if the jersey sales don't slow down? What happens if the fan base keeps getting louder and louder about wanting him on the field? Because at some point, all of this is going to collide. And when it does, the Browns are going to have to make a choice. Stick with the plan or follow the momentum. And if they choose wrong, this isn't just about a jersey anymore. This is about the future of the franchise.